Frontline's latest film, The Choice 2020, Trump versus Biden, lays out the biographies of both men running for president. Filmmaker Michael Kirk and his team focus on how the candidates have responded to times of crisis throughout their lives and careers. Here's a clip of a more recent response from President Trump.
Used the Norman Vincent Peale approach. Visualize what you want to be true, no matter the facts.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. We're ready for it. It is what it is. We're ready for it. You have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero. That's a pretty good job we've done.
As the country deals with this worst pandemic, they're seeing in a man that doesn't see any problems. He always sees a rosy, bright future, and that he can succeed.
There's no question that in the first several months of 2020, staff on the NSC and the Centers for Disease Control were raising red flags about what was happening in China. The president was determined not to hear any bad news.
But we have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
This unwillingness to think about the implications meant there was no strategic planning going on, because that would have meant acknowledging we were facing a severe threat, and he simply did not want to do that.
Empty streets lead to packed emergency rooms across New York City. Paralysis in this typically vibrant city in just a matter of weeks.
As the death toll rose,
FEMA sent 85 refrigerated trucks to New York City to hold the people who've perished.
he doubled down.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus. They're politicizing it.
And Michael Kirk joins me now. Michael, thanks very much for joining us. So Norman Vincent Peale was mentioned in that clip. How central is that belief to, quote, visualize what you want to be true to Donald Trump?
Donald Trump, who had a pretty horrible and dysfunctional family life with his parents. His mother essentially was sick and abandoned him at 2.5. It affected the way he formed relationships. His father was very stern and tough and took him into a world that was filled with killers, losers and winners, and he told Donald to be a winner. He took him and his brothers to the Marble Cathedral in New York, where socialites and politicians gathered to take in the wisdom of Norman Vincent Peale, who'd written a very popular book called The Power of Positive Thinking in the 50s. And it essentially offered that prescription. You can visualize and overlook the advice of experts. We first see it with Trump in the casino world in Las Vegas, in Atlantic City, which is remarkably similar to the way that he handles the coronavirus now, ignoring the Wall Street and other financial experts' advice that he should never open the Taj Hotel, that he shouldn't have 3 casinos going at the same time. He ignored them and went into multiple bankruptcies. And he's doing it again, according to his friends and family who watched this happen once and are watching it happen again to him as the coronavirus hits.
And Michael, you spoke with people who said Donald Trump thrives in and seeks out crisis because he tries to use it to his advantage. How have you seen that play out during his presidency?
Well, we've all watched it happen, Lane. When we started the film, we decided to go all the way back and reverse engineer it and find out where it came from. And when it first started to show its face, it shows its face in the Central Park 5 rape allegations against 5 young men of color in New York City back in the 80s. It shows itself in the birtherism issue. It shows itself in the post-George Floyd moments. It is crisis that he seeks, that he can manage and he can control. The problem with the coronavirus crisis, of course, is that he couldn't control it. And it's really, in many ways, the first of the crises that he's sought to exploit as part of his theory about how to govern that he couldn't control. And it's been a real problem for him all the way along. But his playbook has always been go for the crisis. He's learned this from Roy Cohn. He learned it from his dad. He's learned it from Norman Vincent Peale. And he brings it to his job every day as a self-admitted wrecking ball who's trying he wants to foster the division. That's his calling card. And it's worked so far. It got him elected once, and it might get him elected again.
Well, Michael, you also dive into Joe Biden's longtime playbook, including his response to a disastrous day one of his 2007 presidential campaign. Let's watch a clip of that.
This was not a good day for Joe Biden, was it?
No, it really wasn't, Katie.
Just got into the race today, and no sooner than he did, he talks his way into a national controversy.
Spent much of the day discussing these comments he made to a newspaper reporter about Senator Barack Obama.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
Yeah. Some people listening to those descriptions of Obama, articulate, clean, heard racial overtones, or at the very least, condescension.
I think when people heard the clean and articulate line, there was a wave of eye rolling, certainly among African Americans. It was the kind of well-intentioned but benighted commentary that you expect from people who inhabit environments where there aren't very many black people. And the United States Senate has historically been a prime example of that.
Tonight, his campaign is doing damage control.
He'd been here before. Damage control. Kinnock, Anita Hill.
Joe Biden's apologizing for a remark he made about Senator Barack Obama,
saying, quote, "I deeply regret any offense my..."
He followed the playbook. Apologize, persevere.
So, Michael, where did that kind of response originate for Joe Biden?
It goes all the way back. There's a wonderful scene in our film about Biden and stuttering when he's a little kid and he's bullied and humiliated, and it changes him in some important way that never really goes away. Biden always then skirts this place where he wants to appeal to both sides of everything, keep friends, be seen as that kind of a guy. Well, he makes a lot of mistakes across his Senate career, and many of them become partly because of his effort to try to create a Biden. He doesn't really have an ideology in that sense, but it's how to create a Biden that is a good story so that he can get elected to national office. It first occurs with the plagiarism scandal in the 1987 race, where he literally adopts a British politician's persona and story and talks about it without credit in one or two sensational cases. And his law school record gets revealed, and it's not positive, and he's kind of lied about it. So what is his response? Unlike Donald Trump, who does not apologize, and part of his playbook is never admit a mistake, Joe Biden admits a mistake, takes it on the chin, apologizes. Nobody apologizes over it in Trump's world, and perseveres. That also reveals itself again in the Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas moment, where he apologizes again, realizes the flaw of having all white men sitting in judgment of Anita Hill, goes to work to change it, finds Carol Moseley Braun, the first black woman elected to the United States Senate, and brings her on the committee. Again, a pattern that is the Biden pattern. Make a mistake, and the history shows that he does, admit the mistake, apologize for the mistake, and then do what you can to persevere and get beyond it. The same thing happens with Obama here. He apologizes to Obama. He gets blown out of this presidential race right away. But what does he do? He perseveres with Obama personally. He works with him. He offers advice. And in the end, Obama chooses Joe Biden to be his vice presidential candidate. And when they win, Joe Biden spends 8 years doing lots of things that Barack Obama couldn't do, and especially going to funerals and being the sort of grief counselor in chief, a trait that he sells now on the campaign as something that he will offer a nation in crisis and in a lot of grief. And Obama bestows on him what they call the Obama halo, which means he's earned the right to move beyond what happened with Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas and other incidents including the Obama incident, that people were calling into question. Biden's primary resource through all of this can now be, in that sense, the Black community.
Michael, you've done these choice election specials in 2016, 2012, 2008, and 2000. How does this one rank in terms of difficulty or ease in putting together, and why?
Well, it is without question, in my lifetime this is my 5th choice film, it is the starkest, scariest, most crisis-feeling time in America. That's not news. But how it affects a presidential campaign and how it affects the candidates and how it affects making a film about them, it changed everything. No policy in this film, really. We make the bet that this is a personality contest, that there aren't really issues. Now, there may be because of the untimely death of Justice Ginsburg, but it is a personality contest between two very starkly different men with very different playbooks, which we illuminate through 8 scenes in both men, and we weave them together. So you can't miss the point and the difference if you watch the film. The idea being that at the end of it, I think Americans are going to decide on the man, the candidate they identify with as being able to help us in this crisis. That may sound like an endorsement of Biden, but not necessarily. It may be that Trump's base and others believe that he can help by being what he takes pride in doing, which is being a wrecking ball and moving through it, just keeping going forward and bringing law and order to the racial reckoning that's happening. Or Joe Biden promising grief counseling through the hardest days ahead of us. So when we made the film, we knew it was going to come down to these crises that we could illuminate in their lives, and it was our hope that people would see them and say, I get it, I know who the candidate I like is, or I get it, I think I could vote for that person.